They actually had a psychic spies, and what we did was remote viewing instead. So we did set up a different protocol, and I'm saying we, the government, set up a different protocol, and that's what we still teach at the Monroe Institute. Now all of a sudden we have these superpowers, and we're able to access information in different ways. Remote viewing can be done from an out-of-body state. Remote viewing can be done without being out of body, and it's more about locking in and perceiving something.
Well, the U.S. government started studying it, right?
CIA and the Army, they would send people. They sent the colonel who wrote the infamous paper. They read it and said, oh, this needs to be classified.
Right.
And it's missing this page that I think has all the answers to everything.
Welcome back to Far Out with Faust, everybody. Today we are venturing into the uncharted territories of astral projection and human consciousness with a very special guest, Allyn Evans. Allyn is the CEO of the legendary Monroe Institute, a pioneering research center founded by none other than Bob Monroe. This is the man who famously coined the term out-of-body experience. We dive straight into the fascinating science of the Institute's use of binaural beats and incredible technology. This technology allows anyone to effortlessly slip into expanded states of consciousness and awareness. We also wade through the Institute's incredible ties to the U.S. military and discuss how renowned remote viewers and Army intelligence officers like Joe McMoneagle utilized the Gateway Voyage program to hone their psychic skills during the Stargate era. Beyond out-of-body adventures, Allyn breaks down how accessing different focus levels helps anyone bypass the ego, reprogram deeply ingrained subconscious fears, and heal the physical and emotional traumas which get trapped in our bodies. This is an incredibly empowering conversation about waking up to our true multidimensional potential as human beings. Strap in, keep your mind and hearts open, and please welcome Allyn Evans to the show.
Allyn Evans.
Yes.
Welcome to Georgia, my friend.
Thank you.
It's so great to have you here. Many of my audience has a long history of hearing about the Monroe Institute. Of course, the Stargate program, which, you know, all these declassified files are now in the public reign. Many of them have been. But you are the current CEO
Correct.
of the Monroe Institute. My twin brother has spent, I think, 2 weeks there. I have many friends who have gone. I'm going to go as soon as I get a little more free time. It's very exciting to have you here in my home. Welcome.
Thank you. Glad to be here.
So we were talking last night, and of course, Bob Monroe came up, who the Institute is named after, and his voice, of course, echoes in my mind because I have many of his early CDs. So I guess, how did you come into the position of the CEO of this, what is now becoming a very well-known institute for these different abilities?
You know, what I was interested in was being more psychic at a very young age, I would say in my late 20s. So I was on this pursuit to figure out how to do it. And as I was reading the books, trying to figure it out, watching the lectures, I kept hearing about the Monroe Institute. So I had that in the back of my mind that, hey, that could be a good place, you know, to help me do that. I didn't even know about the out-of-body stuff. And so eventually I got there in 2009 and took Gateway, which is what you're talking about doing at some point. And then I just jumped right in, and within 2 years I was a trainer. And that pulled me in. I also did a lot of volunteer work over the years. And in 2021 I was hired to be the interim executive director.
Wow. Well, and then from there.
Yep. Yeah, then I decided, you know, maybe I should do this permanently, or at least, you know, until I retire. And so they said yes. And
that's amazing. So in your pursuit of these abilities, you ended up, that's wild.
Yep.
Talk about following your intuition and just pursuing what is interesting to you.
Right.
It's amazing how opportunities present themselves.
Right. And then saying yes. That's what I always tell people. You've got to be prepared to say yes, even if it scares you, even if you're not really sure, because you can always say no, you know, and it has opened so many doors.
Yeah. It's It's amazing the amount of synchronicities that happen.
Yeah.
So Bob Monroe, I think it was like 1958.
Yes.
He started leaving his body. You know, he started to what is now what's called astral projection, I guess now.
It was called that then, and he came up with the term out of body.
Oh, he's the one who coined it.
Right, because he was trying to get away from the language of the time, the woo-woo, the new age. And so a lot of his definitions are very practical.
And out of body is kind of the clinical term.
Mm-hmm.
Wow. So he had this incredible experience.
Yes.
No training. No psychedelics. No device. Just simply his own experience, right?
Except we have a theory that because of the use of the sound that he would be working with in the radio business, that might have, we say spontaneous, but...
That's fascinating because Joe McMoneagle was also interested in transistors.
Yes.
I mean, I'm like, wow, that's a little on the nose, but amazing how it aligns with what he ended up becoming and doing with his abilities.
Right.
But that experience became a research institute, right?
Mm-hmm.
So I guess for people listening who maybe don't know, do you want to tell everyone a little bit about the Monroe Institute?
Sure. So we are, the best way to describe it, just mainstream, it's like a meditation retreat center, but it's so much more. We use a sound technology that was created by Bob and two young men that were researchers at the time. Tom Campbell, I don't know if you've ever heard of him, The Theory of My Big Toe.
His name sounds familiar.
So he was a researcher at NASA eventually, but he was one of the young guys that helped Bob. And then another guy named Dennis Minorich, who read about the phenomena of binaural beats.
Oh.
And so this was in the late 70s that they read about this, and they were already playing with the sound, already having experiences, or people were. But then when Dennis read this article, it was something discovered, excuse me, in the late 1800s.
Oh, wow.
By a scientist, William Dove. And when they figured this out, they were like, we should try this. We should put this in with what we're doing. And that's when unbelievable things started happening, where Tom and Dennis would be in separate semi-Faraday cages and would have shared experiences.
Wow.
And so that was what Bob is known as saying, I got a tiger by the tail and I don't know what to do with it.
So so for everyone listening, a Faraday cage is you've ever seen those pictures of Tesla? They're usually drawings, but if you see them and there's a cage,
they're just kind of cutting out the
right. And they use them like when they go to debunk and test psychic abilities, they like to use them because it's supposed to keep any exterior interference out while allowing what goes on within.
Right, and I say semi because we had a few things, wires and things running in there, so it's not a complete Faraday, but it's more so than.
What kind of shared experiences did they have that got them so excited? Do you remember?
So I'm not quite sure of the exact experiences, but what they would do is they would make an intention to meet or to do something together. Then they would journal about it after it was over. Then Bob would interview each one of them, and they would see that they had actually, had the experience they thought they had. And that happens at the Institute. Right. People will end up, communicating with each other, and they're at the Institute meditating.
It's amazing. I know that that is possible because through my experience with the Gateway series. Yep. In like one of the maybe fourth or fifth CDs, oh yeah, and I'm like, wow. So I got to get someone else to get as into this as I am if I'm going to make this part work. You know,
it is fun,
which is challenging, but it's amazing. That people don't realize what we're capable of, and the Institute shows everyone who comes that it's far more than we're taught.
Right, and we do like to say you're more than your physical body. That's what we say is our only dogma. But what's key, and Bob was so insistent on this, it's about your experience. It's not about being told, oh, this is how I did it. This is what happened. I mean, he wrote books that helped get it out there. But he would say, you tell me what you experienced. Mm-hmm. And then that's how it so quickly when people come to our programs or experience them even at home, they go from I believe this to I know this,
Right.
because they have the actual experience, and that's that's the game changer.
It is.
Yeah.
It's experience is that's the root of all wisdom. You
Yes.
know, you can go beyond believing, hoping,
Yeah.
to knowing,
Yep, you do it.
which is powerful.
Yeah.
So this binaural beats. So that's for everyone who maybe is like, wait, how does that work exactly? So that's when you are able to isolate what you play in one in each ear,
Right.
and it has the mind has a way of keeping up with that,
Right.
which is fascinating in and of itself. But it makes the discovery even more profound when you learn a little bit about what that enables the mind to do. So that your ears are trying to track what's being heard in each, and it can only do that at a level of input and information, and so it has this reaction on the mind, which allows the mind to slip into I don't want to say maybe altered states.
Yes.
Altered states of consciousness, right? How else could you put it?
Right. We call it expanded states of consciousness.
Expanded states of consciousness.
Or
That's
expanded states of awareness. But it's like the brain, just for very simple terms, the brain is trying to figure it out because it's got this two different things coming in, subtracts the difference between the two signals that are coming in, and that's how it induces or creates the ability for the brain to go to these different states and be held there.
That's incredible and so cool. That is one part of the technology that you guys use, right? And I didn't realize that Bob came from a radio
Yes.
background. I guess I should have. If I could have guessed, I might have guessed it. But how did that affect? I guess he just had an understanding of signals and transponders and transistors and
Yeah, well, just think about what they did in those days. It was mainly game shows and drama. So they would use all these sound effects and all that. So he was working with radio that way, he produced, and then also was in the background of it. And I think that was key to helping him, develop some skills.
Yeah.
Then he went into TV for a little while. So it was when cable TV was first being laid out. And he did that, but he realized that he wanted to, he was more interested in what people do when they sleep. And he had learned about that you could learn maybe a language or learn something while you sleep. He had heard that.
right.
So he wanted to test it out. And that's when they started using sound to do this. Now, what they didn't understand, or what surprised them, when people got into the lab, they had trouble going to sleep. So then with that radio knowledge, he used these signals to help induce sleep.
Right. To slow
And that's
the brainwaves
how
down.
it started.
Right, because you got to slow the brainwaves down.
Yep.
If you're going to even, let's say, learn a language
Yep.
while you sleep, you have to be getting that information into the mind when it's in a more of a theta
Receptive.
site.
Yeah.
And that's people who listen to my live streams have heard me talk about how that's why the pharmaceutical companies play their ads late at night.
Right.
They hit you with those 30, 60-second,
Yep.
and you're like half asleep on the couch. And they're just like, bam! They just get you. They get your hooks in you, and they know that.
Yeah.
They know that. But it's amazing what you can learn in that state. You can change
Yeah.
a habit. You can change your body. You can change your entire life around, because our body is a very programmable, as our life is, machine.
Right.
Soft technology. So it's what's fascinating is I would just love to have been in the room when Bob Monroe was told about Joe McMoneagle and his background and
Right.
the way that those two interacted at the beginning. It would have been so fascinating to see those two amazing talents, come together.
And for people who don't know who Joe McMoneagle is, he's, excuse me.
Take your time.
Yeah, thank you. So for people who don't know who Joe McMoneagle is, he is Remote Viewer 001 and was a part of that Stargate program that you talked about that was an Army program. And so in 1983, the Army learned about Bob Monroe and his work, and had Joe go to Bob and be trained to help him with his out-of-body experiences that he was experiencing from having a near-death experience.
Right.
But Joe was very key in that Stargate program, which later took on different names throughout that era.
Yeah. And then they nixed it, but the work continued. And, you know, we know that almost every division of the armed forces would reach out and be using quietly, often, you know, remote viewers when the situation was right. It's just they no longer had an official. But it's funny, I used to argue with the young man who's going to edit this podcast over whether that program even existed.
Yeah.
And I was like, there are pay receipts for these. Joe McMoneagle got paid to do this, you know. It wasn't, we weren't just trying to fool the Russians into thinking we had some.
No, they were actually doing it.
They were the ones who were doing it. Now we said, maybe we better look into this, right? Because they had already had a program.
Right. They actually had it was psychic spies. Mm-hmm. And what we did was remote viewing instead. So we did set up a different protocol, and I'm saying we, the government, set up a different protocol, and that's what they followed, and that's what we still teach at the Monroe Institute. That protocol.
Yeah, I've only touched the surface of that protocol because it's a very specific protocol that sets it up so that the viewing can be as pure as possible. Because the moment, you know, you start bringing in your mental, we were talking about this last night, you know, when it comes to remote viewing, so your mental faculties, your ego can often be the biggest, you know, roadblock to any kind of success in that.
Exactly.
And even Joe talks about a period. Joe McMoneagle, for you guys Joe McMoneagle's podcast with Sean Ryan is one of my favorite, and I recommend it.
Well done.
If you go to the YouTube channel, you'll see on my playlists is a Faust highly recommends, and there's about maybe 12 different big old delicious red pills in that list, and Joe's interview is among those documentaries, and those are my must see. I've seen it, and I've even listened to parts of it with my children because I'm like, listen to this story. This is what we are capable of.
Right. He's got great stories.
Oh yeah, he's a really good storyteller. We're gonna have to try to strong arm him to get him here. So the technology has evolved even since you got there, right?
Yes.
So like, and we were talking about last night. You know, like I'm someone who, I mean, I have the CDs, you know, but the program is different now, and I've heard people talking about there's a difference between the Gateway experience, the CDs that I got, I don't know, 6-7 years ago, and the program you guys.
Actually, they're very similar.
They are similar.
It's facilitated though, so when you come to the institute or you take it online, you've got a trainer,
right,
who's helping you understand the material.
Oh yeah. Yeah, and you could use one of those. I mean,
I know I did it that way too, the way you did it, and I realized I actually thought I knew a lot more than I did after doing it. And I remember calling the institute to say I was ready for the next program, not Gateway. I was trying to skip it because I'd done it, and they were like, "No, you haven't." So then I go to Gateway, and I'm like, "Oh, I get it. Yeah."
It takes a lot. It's like, and Joe talks about it. It takes a lot of practice. You know, you have to be dedicated to it. But I know people who have had the most incredible out of body experience.
And it's not just out of body.
No.
I mean, I call it projected consciousness. But you know, there's so many different ways to experience information. What maybe even soul healing. You know, it's
interactions.
Yep.
You know. Extra dimensional contact, you know, with these souls that are, and I'm deliberately using the word souls, so because if I say entity, then some people will get scared and you know.
So Bob called it inspect, and it was intelligent beings to help.
That's right.
He gave a lot of practical terms to things because it was concepts, one, we didn't really know how to label, but he also was trying to explain it in a way that was
very so that people could not bring up a bias or a subconscious prejudice about
Right.
what they're hearing. You know, you got to be very careful with the words you use, because even if you use the word God, you know, some people are like
Right.
the religious connotation and all, you know, because God is different to a lot of people in a lot of different places.
Right.
Some people are very scared, you know. Some people are, there's nothing but love, you know. But Bob was really smart the way he went about trying to keep this clinical, you know, so that it can be digested. So the Gateway Voyage program, it obviously uses binaural beats. Is it still, and it's still Bob's voice, right?
Yes.
Which, if those of you who have heard, Bob has a very specific and awesome
Radio voice.
Yeah. He's so good, and you know the beginning of this series, and I highly recommend anyone who's interested in learning these to either make their way to the Monroe Institute or do the online and get, because this is fun, and this is an innate part of being human that most people will never
Right.
experience for no other reason than they just don't realize that it's at their fingertips.
Right.
You know, if they just want to learn. How does the Gateway Voyage program build on that technology? Can you talk a little bit about that?
So it's really more about the technology supporting you as you go through the experience. And it's teaching about what Bob called focus levels. So it's like mapping out the territory. And different recipes take us to different focus levels. And so that's different purposes, different types of experiences.
Right. And so you achieve focus level after focus level, right? And as you get from one tier, if you will, to the next, you come into more and more experiences.
Correct. And there's not one better than the other. Sometimes because it's numerical, people have that idea.
10, 12.
It's right.
Yeah.
It's more about intention and purpose. Like, what is the purpose of this focus level? So for me, like for remote viewing, 12 and 15 are really good focus
Right.
levels for remote viewing. For out of body, you can even be 10. Actually, out of body, you could say all of them.
Right.
It's just because it's different jumping off points. Dealing with more of that conscious mind communication would be 21. You know, so each one has its own purpose.
Yeah. And these are states that will help. They're not just great states to jump off into expanded consciousness, but you know, they're states of relaxation that most people just don't realize how valuable they can be to human health. And I mean, it's like meditative states. In many ways, you are learning to induce that in the body,
Right.
and then you can use that in any number of ways. But you know, like it's funny you mentioned learning a language. People don't realize that you can learn things without, you know, the 3-dimensional going and learning and drilling, and you know that you can slip them into the subconscious,
Right.
you know, and you're expediting everything, and then you know it at a level that you wouldn't even if you had consciously spent months, years toiling at, you know, oh, I finally know Mandarin,
Right.
you know.
But let's take it to the subconscious mind is the house of a lot of our beliefs.
Oh yeah.
So from childhood, from the cultural experience, we don't know that's driving us. So if we start having communication with that aspect of ourselves, we open up so
yeah.
much healing and growth. And to me, that's the biggest plus here. I mean, the exploration, yeah, it's fun. It's a lot of fun. But what's really important here is self-evolution.
You are talking my language, Allyn. This is what I love to talk about. You know, and most people are sleepwalking.
Yep.
You know, and some people are a little more awake, and other people have made it, you know, a habit to try and parcel out who's running the show today. You know, and I tell people that, like, if you want to know how this works, this is why a person who has smoked their whole life can go to a hypnotherapist and sometimes in one session,
Right, and change.
throw his pack of cigarettes
Yep.
out on the way home, having had no intention. This is my cousin. This is my cousin.
Okay.
He only went because his wife was like, "Will you just go?" And he was like, "Fine, honey, I'll go." You know, He smoked the whole way there. Had no intention, no
Right.
intention of quitting. He just went because his wife wanted him to go. He went, happy wife, happy life. And he threw his pack on the way home.
And hasn't touched it since.
No, and
Wow.
you know, so that's the power of starting to master the subconscious and realize what's yours and what just came with your childhood.
Right.
Because most of what we do, if we're not aware, is coming from other people, other sources.
Right.
You know? So in order to live a conscious life, you got to really get down and dirty. And there's usually a lot of, let's call it malware, you know,
Yep.
that it's important for people to go through because, go ahead.
Well, I was going to say also what I've witnessed and what I've experienced. You don't always have to know what you're releasing, what no longer serves you on a conscious level. So it can be very healing without trauma.
Right. You don't have to revisit and find out
Right.
just how bad.
You just say, I'm ready to let
Why
it go.
can't I remember the first 12 years of my life?
Right.
You don't, yeah.
And you're in those deep states,
Mm-hmm.
and then you're letting it go. And so sometimes you know what it is with an emotional reaction. Sometimes you know what it is without an emotional reaction. And then other times you don't know at all, but you just know that you've released something.
You feel lighter, yeah.
Yep.
Because, you know, we were talking about this last night at dinner. Trauma gets trapped
Yep.
in the body.
In the tissue.
You know, especially in those lower centers, chakras, for my yoga people. You know, those lower energy centers. But so like the focus level. So this. I found so like I would do this whenever I had time, and I was also meditating, and I was making time to do the series, and I was like, so the focus levels each present, and we started to talk about this a little bit. You know, like different levels, right? Like, can you tell me what you're like? I remember focus level 10.
Okay.
Like I got real good at that one, of course, because that's one of the first ones.
Well, and it's a foundational one.
Right.
Yeah.
And then 12, but so can you talk a little bit about the levels and how you experience them?
So with Focus 10, it is foundational, and I think it's one to master because you think about it, it's mind awake, body asleep. So in those deep meditative states, you are gone, right? So if you can train yourself to stay alert, then you are conscious of the experience. So that's why that's such a beautiful one. And even like psychics and mediums who get into those deep alpha theta states and some delta while they're wide awake,
Yeah.
that's because they've trained themselves. And then you're more open and receptive.
And then you're in a meditation is fantastic, but then what happens is people get in their car and they get in traffic and they're like,
Yep.
you know. so you know, we especially as a student of Dr. Joe Dispenza's, we're like, can you do it with your eyes awake, with your eyes open?
Yeah.
Because that's the goal, is to
Right.
be so fluid with it that you can experience it consciously,
Right.
and you get better at it the more you
Yes,
do
you
it.
do.
You know?
And even in Gateway, we start you thinking about that. We have an exercise where you're outside walking around with your eyes open.
Oh, I love that.
Yeah.
We used to do crazy stuff kind of before. Go ahead.
No, I was going to go back to the focus level.
No, go ahead, please.
So focus 12 is like toning down the physical. I do want to go back to 10 though. One of the things about 10, you can actually be like by yourself meditating, and all of a sudden you hear someone deep breathing or snoring, and you're like, who is in the room with me? And it's you. Like your body is literally asleep. And when you have that experience, it's really fun because you're like, oh, okay. And then I think you have an aura ring.
I do, yeah.
So I can measure sleep.
Mm-hmm.
And when I am in focus 10, it tells me I'm in
Napping,
light sleep. Yeah.
Yeah, I love that. I know I had a good meditation when my ring is like, you were napping for an hour? I was like,
No.
Oh, no, I was meditating, yeah.
Mind alert.
Yeah, mind alert.
But so 15 is another one. And focus 15 is one that it's where you can have either where you're initiating experiences like past lives, parallel lives, future lives, things like that, or it's the void. It's the place that like somebody that has been training for 30 years, sitting for 30 years like a Buddhist monk. It's the void, the silence.
Great nothing.
Yeah. So that's focus 15. 12, I need to go back to 12. That's more of turning down the physical and then stepping into that conscious connection with, like, say, higher self. It's still considered you. You know, you're still reaching, you're still exploring and getting information primarily from aspects of yourself, and it's usually nonverbal that you get the information, communication.
Yeah. I remember I was on a mission to begin a dialogue of any sort with my higher self, and I used these focus levels and these CDs to do that, to establish a clear contact with my higher self, and so they're wildly effective. You know, whether you want to learn to remote view or astral project, the series is dynamic in that way. It's not just one thing or the other. You can really use it for what your intention is. You know, people. I mean, I have a wide variety of friends, and some of them they want to be a channel like Daryl Anka, you know. And this series I know very successful channels, incredible information who have used this series. That was their launching off where they made contact with this person that they now channel, and incredible wisdom, you know, comes through when they're in their channeling.
Yeah.
So it's amazing. What other focus levels? I didn't get farther than 15.
15,
yeah,
okay.
No.
So 21, and that's another one that's covered in Gateway. And that is more of that threshold state. So your subconscious mind, conscious mind, where you can actually have conversations with deceased loved ones, guides, intelligent beings, the inspects, things like that.
Inspects. I got to remember that. I love that term. You know, and sadly, there's a lot of fear around some of these things still.
Right. And when people have an out of body, a lot of times they stop themselves from really going on because of that fear.
Yeah.
So sometimes it takes a while. You'll start working with the vibrational body, but you still don't allow yourself to do more.
Like, so for people who are hearing this and immediately thinking, yeah, but what's how do I know? What if I end up talking to, you know, a negative entity who, you know, what do you say to people who are afraid of this aspect of it because of maybe some religious indoctrination or?
You know, Bob Monroe, if you read his first book, he runs around screaming a lot because he's like, you know, interfacing with.
Yeah.
So as he matured, he understood that a lot of that was his own shadow, his own, the emotional self or things that he was working through. Something else we tell people, if you, like, say a scary monster shows up and you are afraid, you say, I'll listen to you, but I need you to change. I need you to be a teddy bear, or I need you to take on a different form. Because typically, at least from my perspective, it's a messenger. It's not something out to get you. And then in that state, it can't hurt you anyway, just like in your dream state. You know, you've had nightmares.
Right.
And you've been chased by really scary things.
Right.
And they can't hurt you.
No.
And again, it's a messenger.
Yeah. And it's usually your underlying signature of fear that is
bubbling that up.
Bubbling, you know, because there has to be a vibrational match of sorts for there to be any kind of communion.
And then I also, I know some people are more, you know, are afraid, like you said, just about bringing in darkness and things like that. So for me personally, I'm not messing with that. You know, I have, we call it Reball, Resonant Energy Balloon.
I remember Reball. Yeah.
We work, it's one of the exercises. And so we work with our own energy. So you can use that as protection, but you can use it as other things like helping you travel, you know, have an OBE, helping you energize, protecting you just in traffic. But I rely on that. I'm like, you know, I don't do anything with anything that's not equal to or greater than myself.
That's right. And that's so for those of you curious, that is part of Bob's mantra, the affirmation that you do. So you begin with this, you know, and it becomes ingrained in you. So you're not flicking the channels down to those the selection of horror movies. It's
Right.
you're every 200 and above.
Right.
All those
Right.
all those channels are
Right.
199 and below.
Yep.
And you've already set the dial.
Right.
So there's not a lot to be concerned about because you're already starting from the right place.
Right. And
Yeah.
it's funny because I actually like to say, I don't want somebody equal. I just
Right.
want greater.
Right. That's part of it. Bob says equal to or greater
Yeah.
than.
And I always go greater.
Yeah. Why not? Why not? You get to set the parameters
Yeah.
for your quest. It's so cool. So you got there, and I mean, I imagine that you took to a lot of these exercises and where you were learning this. All these focus levels, and I've probably had some incredible experiences. Can you so? I feel like it's safe to say everyone's had an out of body experience, whether they're
Aware of it or not.
aware of it or
Yeah.
not. And then some people are like, "Can you explain what that experience is like?" And because I get this a lot, and I have a lot of questions too. Like the difference between remote viewing and out of body. For some people, they say, "Well, there's no difference," but I think that if you're studying this, you can clinically say that there is a difference. And have you had personal experiences and successes with both? And can you talk a little bit about the difference?
So, with that out of body experience, if you look at the traditional explanation of it, it's the shaking, the vibration. Sometimes people hear this noise like a train sound, and then they feel like they are rising up, like some energetic part of them is going. And that's how I would experience it. It was like out of my shoulder and then up. And then you also can look down and see your body, like when you're in the same locale, and Bob called it locale 1. So that would be a traditional way to do it. Then other times people become aware that they're out of body, so they miss. And I actually started with the vibrations as well, and then as time progressed, and Bob said this too, that stopped. It just would be, I would realize I was out of body instead of going through all the steps consciously. Remote viewing can be done from an out of body state. Remote viewing can be done without being out of body. And it's more about locking in and perceiving something. So it's you get a target, and then you are looking at the pieces of the target. So if you say, "Oh, that's a basketball because it's orange and it's a ball," you would be told, "Wait, don't judge. Keep describing it." And you find out it was an orange, as an example. So it's very different. That's a more practical tool and application, where out of body would be exploration. And
do you know people who are so fluent that they can kind of become an astral Superman and just kind of? I think my imagination. I mean, that's like I always have dreams like that.
Yeah.
Like I'm always flying in my dreams.
yeah,
But when I consciously try, I run into a little more difficulty with it as far as going out of body.
Yeah.
I've gotten in the same room many times, but getting out of the room has been more challenging for me. I've had I remember the first out of body experience I had it was a bit traumatic. Like it came
that's
from
typical.
Yeah, and that's what I learned afterwards. I think I was maybe, I don't know, 10 years old, and my dad chased me and he caught me. I went into the wrong room, and I was hoping he would chase my twin because we knew to
Split.
go in different directions and hope
went
that
after you.
the coin dropped on the right side, but he got me and I went the wrong way. And I knew he was furious, and I knew it was going to hurt. He had his belt, and he put me over his knee and he whipped my pants down, and I was like, I don't have to stay here for this. I remember thinking, I don't have to stay here for this. I'm smart, I said.
Yeah.
And then before I knew it, I was on the ceiling looking down at my bare butt and his belt, and I was like, I knew it. But then, of course, every time he hit, I'd be back, and I'd be back, and it was a crazy experience. I'll never forget it. That was my first time that I was ever like looking down at my own body. It was maybe not ideal, but it certainly triggered an understanding in me, you know.
Right. That it's possible.
Yeah. And I thought to myself, see, I am smart. I was right. I don't have to stay here for this,
Yeah.
you know.
You're more than your physical body.
I am more than right. But you realize that a lot of people come into or are activated through, because near-death experiences can be very traumatic,
Right,
you know.
right.
I mean, and Joe McMoneagle, that experience where he was either poisoned or there was an attempt on his life, and he ended up chasing his body.
Right.
What a wild story that is. You know, but then they began to harness that in
Right.
him, you know, which is, I mean, you've heard about, you saw Third Eye Spies, right?
Yes.
With Pat Price. And do you think that he was targeted, you know, because of his abilities?
You know, I don't know the answer to that. He would say so.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Pat Price was just an everyday guy who came in and was like, oh, I do this.
Yeah.
And they were like, do you? And he was like, yeah, watch, you know. And they were like, he was right there, you know, him and Joe, because they don't work together because they
Right.
can't have, but they give them both they probably had
They
similar
have
tests.
so they will have several working on one
Right.
target, and a lot of times they're seeing different views and perspectives
Yeah.
that helps put it all together.
What do you think of Inigo Swan? You know, he's a very controversial figure in all this.
Yeah.
Because of what do you think about him, and what has his work impacted? No.
No. No.
No. You want to say anything else?
No.
Yeah, he was a very interesting guy. I think he had a lot of talent, but he also had a very big ego.
Yeah.
And
That can happen.
yeah,
Yeah.
I mean, it tends to happen.
Well, and because that's the challenge, just for those of us who consider ourselves average people, we can step into ego because now all of a sudden we have these superpowers and we're able to access information in different ways. And so it can kind of have the opposite
yeah,
effect of evolution and go more towards ego.
and we were talking about this last night.
Yeah.
You look at people,
So you want to rein it in.
yeah, like Uri Geller, who
Yeah.
was a superstar at one point, and then all of a sudden, you know, kind of people were like, wait a minute, this dude. And I wonder what happened. You know, he became he became a celebrity.
Right.
And we were even talking about healers who seemingly had great ability and were performing these amazing, miraculous feats, and then something went south.
Yeah.
You could say.
Yeah.
And
Well, it's choice, you know. We have free will. You make a choice, and you're going one way, and you make choices that take you. I look at it as a vibrational thing,
Yeah.
and so you are going down vibrationally with your choices.
right, and then with that, I think comes these abilities. They're no longer as accessible.
Right. Because you're pushing instead of flowing.
Yeah, and you're mentally grasping instead of allowing.
Yeah.
You know, and there's a surrender involved in all these abilities. But this is a perfect segue for my next question because,
Okay.
you know, Gateway and all this stuff starts to sound a little less fringe to people when they learn that, well, the U.S. government started studying it, right? And like, what did Army intelligence think that Gateway could do for them? What was their...
So it wasn't Gateway that they used. They did direct Joe to go meet Bob Monroe and be trained by him to help him control his out-of-body experiences. But then what the CIA and the Army, they would send people, well, so the CIA group, they had 3 different times that they had Bob do a class, and it was more about practical use and focus and things like that. And then the Army sent some people to Gateway. Joe was one of them. He did it 3 times. Then they sent the colonel who wrote the infamous paper that was classified and then declassified in 2003 by the CIA.
That document.
So it wasn't an organized thing, but some of the different departments, of course, just went as individuals. And that's what happened with this paper that the CIA classified. He wrote a report for his superior. Then they read it and said, oh, this needs to be classified.
Right.
And then in 2003, they declassified it, and it made it become this mystery because there was a page missing.
Oh, that's you mentioned that last night.
Yes, and so page 25 was missing. And so from 2003 to about 2000, let's say 15 or so, nobody even cared. Nobody was looking at it. And then somebody on TikTok got really interested, Wire magazine, and started reading and said, okay, this is important, and it's missing this page that I think has all the answers to everything. Why have they hidden it? Why have they not released that page? And it was just a clerical error.
Oh, it was.
Yeah. So we think when they were scanning it, declassifying it, it dropped on the floor. I don't know. We had the page all along.
No kidding.
We weren't contacted till later after all this buzz was going on. We were unaware of, and we were like, "Yeah, we have it here."
It's not a secret.
And it's
a typo.
It was just a man and his opinion. It wasn't
Not the secret to.
It wasn't Monroe's opinion.
Wow. So the missing page the whole time wasn't a conspiracy. It was just a clerical, a facsimile type error. Wow. And
there's a lot of misinformation out about it,
I'm sure because you leave it up to speculation.
Yep.
So for everyone who's listening, maybe my editor will be able to find some of those pages.
Oh, yeah.
Those are and if you're watching on one of the viewing
It's
platforms,
out there. It's easy.
Yeah,
to
but
find.
you see, they talk about these abilities. The CIA talks about.
Well, no, not the CIA.
sorry.
The Army.
It was an Army report.
It was an Army colonel who gave it to his superior.
Which I think makes it even more credible.
Yeah.
The Army's not known for disinformation.
Right.
The CIA is, which is one of the things that, the cynics and the, what do you call them? The skeptics will point to and say, well, the CIA just made it up because that's what they do. That's propaganda. Like, no, this was an Army colonel writing a report he didn't know was going to end up classified.
Had no idea.
Maybe you should read it.
No, it's interesting. It's certainly interesting.
And it speaks to the validity of some of these things.
He found it life-changing,
I think most people who experience it would say that, So if you had to describe an out-of-body experience in 3 words, how would you could you do it?
No.
I can't.
I would say it's a lot of fun. Whenever I'm having them, which I do spontaneously, It's like, oh, okay, here we go. But I found more information, more help with the projected consciousness experience. So out of bodies are fun, yes. But I have found that I don't get as much meaning, for my personal development out of it. Now, some people have, so it's not that way for everyone.
Projected consciousness. So this
is like, you're in you're meditating, right? On your bed, in a chair, whatever you're doing, but you're aware of something else.
Right.
So some people might even say it's bilocation without the physical bilocation, because where you are, but then you're having a conversation with another being, or you're a deceased relative, or you're getting some information in a book, like that's been handed to you.
Right. I'm trying to figure out what I was doing. So I had this incredible experience that I thought I was remote viewing, and maybe I was, but I did set out to cast my consciousness to this location that I was trying to remote view.
Okay.
And I found myself there, and I was able to take in a lot of details.
Okay.
So it was vivid. It was colorful. I could see what was happening.
Right.
And so I'm just making notes, and of course, mentally, I'm like, yeah, well, you're a regular Sherlock Holmes. That's what that place looks like. Way to go! You've imagined it very vividly,
Right.
And then I was like, well, wait a minute. Let me see if I can get more details, And I would get closer, and like, let me see how this person is sitting, you know.
Yeah.
Okay, that's how they always sit, you know, comes in the mental. And I was
Yeah.
like, okay, fine. Let me see what they're watching. How about that? You know,
Yeah.
could I get that kind of a detail? And so I got close enough to see what they were watching, right? And I had this image of, it was almost like a portrait on the screen that they were watching of like a queen or a woman. I was like, all right, just give it up, dude, because but when I got home, you know, I asked my wife, I said, don't say anything. I was trying to remote view you, and I was like, were you in the tub? She's like, yeah. I was like, okay, were you sitting like this? And she's like, yeah. I was like, yeah, but you always sit like that. She's like, and I was like, but like, what were you watching on your iPad? Because I saw this like woman that looked like a portrait, and she was like a queen, and it was just her, like, and her face got like bright red, her eyes got real big, and she told me I'm never, she's like, you're never allowed to tell me. She was watching, I think, Wendy Williams, which is a talk, she was a talk show host, and she was kind of like, she would sit on her throne, and it was just her talking, and I was like, she was like, you can't tell anyone, because she was embarrassed because it's kind of a gossipy show.
Yeah.
And I was like, I'm telling everyone. And she ran after me. I was like, oh, I was so excited about it. Because I had a little bit of validation, you know. But so is that remote viewing, or is that?
That would be a good question for Joe McMoneagle. But I would say it was projected consciousness.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, more so than, because remote viewing, you're just taking in information,
right,
bits and pieces as much as you can, and then afterwards you try to put the picture together. Whereas, so
you were viewing and seeing,
and that's kind of what I was trying to do.
Yeah,
you know, and the key to all this, I think, is remaining in a childlike state.
Yes,
you know.
Yeah, and it's very different from like TM
Transcendental meditation.
Yes, thank you. Because it's not about emptying the mind; it's about paying attention to what comes in. So it's exploration too. You know, so it's for me it was always fun. You know, I never dreaded meditating when I started this. Now, when I was doing the other stuff, it was hard to do.
Like which stuff?
Well, just like quieting your mind
for
5 minutes, 10 minutes. You know, I did the oming thing. You know, that Wayne Dyer introduced. I had the actual CD and would do that. That was easier for me than just trying to
learn to meditate.
Yeah, just trying to empty the mind. So this way, you don't have to. You know, that's not what it's about.
Right.
It's about engagement. Now, it can be the void, the silence, but if that's not something you want to experience, you can initiate, and it's engaging.
Well, people have when you're learning to meditate, it takes a little time to kind of discipline.
Right, but that's the beauty of the sound technology, because it helps you get there and holds you there. There was a Buddhist monk that came in the 90s, so it was when Bob was alive. And in Focus 15, when they were introduced to that, he said, you Americans, you find the shortcut for everything. And he loaded up, as the story goes, on those CDs for Focus 15 to take them back to the monastery. But he said, it took me 30 years of sitting to be in this state. And you're doing it in less than a minute. Wow. You know, with the support of the frequencies.
Right. The technology, the binaural beats. It's amazing, you know. And I always wonder, like, people always look at technology as, you know, the bane of our, you know, and I can see where some of that fear comes from, but it's also a tool. You know, if we start to perceive it in a more positive way, perhaps we'll start to see it used in a more positive way.
And it's non-invasive. It's inexpensive. There's nothing that creates a habit. You know, that because you have to initiate it, and it's not like a drug that you would crave. It's just, okay, it's time to meditate. I'm going to use sound support to help me. And then you learn how to do it without it too.
Yeah. And there's a lot of programs of, you know, out there that do this. You know, I'm friends with Dr. Porter, who created BrainTap, which is that's just meditation. Also, a little bit of subconscious programming if you want to, but some amazing programs out there for people who are like, I can't meditate.
Yeah.
Well, you don't even these days. You don't even necessarily need to learn to meditate. You with the right program, you're going to induce that state in the mind. You're going to recondition the mind. So like the technology is not all bad.
Right. And then the mind chatter is what a lot of people have trouble with, just unconnect or deconnecting from my grocery list or my...
what the monks would call the monkey mind, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, that can be challenging even for seasoned meditators
Yes.
sometimes.
Oh, it can be. It's situational. And so the technology supports you. So like, let's say I'm going to do 10, focus 10, but I am so wrapped up in a situation that's happening in my external world, it doesn't mean that I'll automatically go to 10. It sets it up for me to have that experience. So that's where that monkey mind can get in the way and interfere.
Oh yeah.
And then you help you train yourself. We have something called the energy conversion box.
I remember
that you
that,
imagine,
yes.
And then you stick those worries in, and then if it's say middle of meditation, something else comes back. You go, okay, back in there. You can come out later, but for right now, I'm focused on this.
I used to stick fear in that box. And, like old guilt and regret.
Yeah.
And
just whatever bubbles up that you are not. But sometimes you need to pay attention to what's bubbling up too and process it.
That's a good point because oftentimes there's something there that needs to be addressed and integrated. So you're not bypassing as much as you're becoming more aware of what is coming up, and obviously life is going to present days that are more challenging than others.
Well, as Bob called it, the Earth life system. We live in it, and that's our teacher. That's how we learn. That's how we grow. And it's not always pretty.
No, because there's a lot of stuff, like not skeletons in the closet, but like, what do you think he meant when he said that? Like, it's not always pretty. Like,
so it's life. It's like, so there's challenges that you have to go through for self-evolution, for growth, and healing. There's agreement. This is my belief. You make agreements when you come in about interacting with certain people to do certain things. And some of those things are not easy because it's you learning forgiveness, or you learning humility, or whatever it is that you're designed to be learning in this lifetime.
Right.
And even if you're on purpose, like I'm doing what I love now, and I know I'm where I'm supposed to be, doesn't mean that all the external world gets in line too.
No. I mean, it just means you have an easier time with what
it means. Well, for me, it means that I know it's okay, and I know I'm supposed to be experiencing this, even though it hurts, like whatever, or it's very painful. And I think that's also what a side benefit of doing this type of work, because you start trusting more. When things are crazy, like in our world, there are a lot of things that are crazy, and so we just trust, like, okay, that this is supposed to be this way, instead of coming from a place of fear,
anxiety,
and there are a lot of people who aren't able to trust that it's okay, and it can look so unfair. Somebody's life can, and it is unfair, possibly, maybe more so than others, and it can look that way, and you're like, why is this happening? And if you go back to the Earth life system, soul evolution, it's the best situational space for that soul to grow and evolve.
You have to trust that the Creator doesn't make mistakes or allow any, for that matter.
Right. It's a heavy subject.
It is.
And this is this is my opinion and how I look at life.
We have similar views. I'm convinced of it. That it's funny how people want to give the Creator credit for all things amazing, and then blame everyone else for things that go wrong, as if when it's all part of a plan, to catalyze, I think, and evolve, and bring light where there was darkness in one way or another. And the more you can trust that that's what it is, the more you're going to experience that that's what it is.
And the more peaceful you will be.
Right. Because, everything is temporary, That's another thing people remember, feelings, we're not our feelings. We're
Right.
not our body. Feelings are temporary.
Yeah.
You know, you look at some of our soldiers who come back and the things that they're dealing with, and then
Yeah.
the decision to take their own life is, that's based on a temporary feeling.
Right.
And they make a very permanent decision.
Right. That's one of the things that, and actually I recently wrote a book and I talk about that. It's like, it's sad to me when people do make that choice, because the spring always comes.
Right. No, there's for as far back as you pull, that's as far back as you're going to go.
Yeah.
You know, I have the same thought. It's funny that you wrote about that in your book. I think about that often. Okay, so we get to the Monroe Institute.
Okay.
Walk me through a visit. I've never been, but I do intend to come.
So when I was showing up, it's kind of funny. I thought, okay, again, this was 2009. I went by myself, and I thought, okay, there's going to be a lot of weirdos here. And I am an introvert, but I'm also very extroverted in my personality. And so I was like, and I just won't talk. You know, it's okay. Just I was preparing myself to have a lonely week. And then I was like, okay, and they're probably going to feed me really bad food, like wheatgrass, you know. So. And so I get there. Oh, and the other thing, and this is something that, because of when the building was built, it's just a reality. You typically have a roommate.
Right.
And I was like, I don't want a roommate, you know. And so
roommate's gonna suck.
I show up, and I have the room with 2 roommates.
Oh boy.
Which was, is perfect. It worked out really well. And they fed me really good food, and the people weren't so weird. You know, they were just normal people. So there's, when you find people who are also doing exploration, that's usually what it is. It's self-exploration or self-development. You usually find yourself with a group of people who you will enjoy.
Yeah.
And yes, you're very different, but it seems to always work out. And then as I trained over the years, I would notice themes. So groups would come together for certain, purposes.
Right. And you noticed that a lot of them lined up.
Yes.
Wow.
Yeah. And so, for example, I did one program where it seemed like everyone was working on their throat chakra, their voice and speaking their truth, so things like that. But then you go and you are meditating for 5 to 6 times a day, and it's using the sound technology. So it's don't worry, it's not it's not boring. It's exploratory, and you're in your what we call check unit, and that's Controlled Holistic Environmental Chamber. Bob loved acronyms,
Yes, he
so
did.
he named it that, and that's also your bed. And so you spend a lot of time in your check unit, and you just have experiences based on the purpose of the recipes that you're experiencing for the day or the moment.
I mean, the grounds look beautiful. I've seen
Yes.
pictures, and I've had friends who are like, who have gone.
Well, it's in the foothills of the Blue Ridge Mountains,
That's right.
and we have a huge crystal at both locations that people like to pose around, take pictures. They're like
cool.
6 feet tall.
Why? So everyone thinks crystals are woo-woo. You notice there's a few of them in the room here. What about crystals?
So this was a gift, and it was after Bob died that these got installed. But we believe we're on a bed of crystals, quartz crystals. There's just quartz crystals all over the place, in the yards and in the earth.
And quartz is known to amplify.
Right. And then this particular crystal gift was from Brazil. It just happened to be someone that lived in the neighborhood that came from a family who had a mine in Brazil,
That's so cool.
and they gifted it to the Institute.
Yeah. Crystals they have such a stigma with the New Age movement.
Yes, but I did teach a course called Energy Medicine for a long time with an MD. He was an emergency medicine doctor, and he demonstrated to the classes every time about the power of crystals. And so from that experience with Brian Daly was his name, I realized, okay, these aren't just rocks. There's something intentional here, and then we can use it to project energy.
Mm-hmm. That's amazing. An MD, and he would show people
Yep.
the way some of these different
He was an
Crystals.
energy healer. He was big on crystals. He had an amazing crystal collection that he donated to the Institute. We
Wow.
actually have the crystals.
And he was an actual emergency doctor,
Yes.
MD.
Yes.
Take that, you skeptics. No, no. People are drawn to them,
Yeah.
for a reason.
Yeah. He was never sued, which is
Wow.
kind of unusual in that.
No malpractice.
No.
A crystal loving MD work. Wow. Is he still around?
No, he passed away last October. That's why I don't teach the course anymore. I've turned it over to other trainers at the Institute.
Yeah, that's amazing. That's so cool. I had no idea.
We also worked with Biofield imaging.
Oh,
And so that's a way to look at your energy field.
what do they call it? What was the? Starts with a K, does it?
Oh, no, you're talking, so that's different. Carillion.
Oh, yeah, okay. Yeah, that's the
That's photography.
aura photography. So what you're talking about is the biofield imaging,
Right, the energetic emission around you.
the electromagnetic.
And so then you can, like, he's got different slides or pictures where he's showing how you are holding a crystal and amplifying it, and that
Wow.
energy is being directed out, especially with energy healing, like out of the hands.
Mhm. Yeah.
And it helps people who attend the program. They look at it and they're like, okay, again, I go from believing to knowing
Right.
that something is happening here with running that energy through my system.
It's funny when I've learned to do remote coherence healings, and we were talking about it last night.
Yeah.
It's a matter of just learning how to kind of sync up the heart and mind
Right.
and create coherence, and then open your heart
Right.
to that feeling, which is cool because physically the heart actually opens.
Right.
Like so it's not just
And you can see that on Biofield imaging too.
it's
like
amazing.
The chakras.
and that puts out a strong electromagnetic signal.
Mm-hmm.
And what you're saying is crazy because people who get involved in the healing arts, we like to put crystal
Yes,
spices.
I have
We'll
them
wear
everywhere.
Them.
I
see
have
some,
one on right now.
some guys be strapping them to their heads, and you're like, "Well, they're crazy." No, they're not crazy, but they're intuitively picking up on this is a way to amplify that energy.
Right, and it does. Like, so if you wear crystals or like put them in your pocket or whatever, and then you remove them, it does go away. So there is a benefit,
Wow.
and it's
Measurable.
benefit of having crystals around you.
That's me. I was not aware that that had been so documented. I love crystals. I forgot to put my Moldavite on.
Oh, now that's a powerful one.
Yeah, they sell that by the carat, which is crazy.
Right. It's very rare now. That
Yeah.
It's been mined, and so if you
Because
find
it comes
them, it's
from meteorites, right?
yes. Is it Czechoslovakia? It's somewhere. It's only one place that they found this, and
Yeah.
so if you find one like at an estate sale or somewhere, and it's a nice price, you need to buy
Yeah.
it.
Yeah.
And the way you tell if it's real is you hold it up to light, and it's translucent.
Yeah, it has to be translucent. That's how you know. And it's light. It's not like
No,
a stone. It feels more like almost like I want to say like polymer, or a plastic. It doesn't.
right. It's not very. There's not a weight to it.
Doesn't have that weight like a stone does, or even glass.
Yeah.
Glass is heavier. Moldavite. I think I'm saying that right.
Yeah, you
It's
are.
called. Yeah, and it's got it's that deep green color.
Yes.
You see it. But okay, so it's like a dormitory, right? The where you would stay, it's almost like dorms, right?
In a way, I mean, so each guest will have a room and a check unit, and so it's two people usually in a room, and so your check unit is blocked off and very private with a dark curtain, so you can basically be in your room by yourself, even if someone's in there.
Can you go with a friend and have them as your roommate?
Yes.
Oh, that's
yes,
cool.
Yeah.
Do you guys get do couples come? And,
Yes.
Oh, that's cool. That's cool.
We actually, what we suggest or recommend is Gateway come by yourself,
Yeah.
and then graduate programs come together.
I see.
But we don't stop you.
No.
If you're like, I'm not coming unless my wife can come.
Right. Right. That's
But it just, because it is such a personal experience, and you really, if you open up and you dive in,
and you're not worried about
right, it's not a relationship thing. It's you
right. And then you're not
taking
measuring your
into-
success
Yeah, right. And you're not comparing with
or
your
being like,
yeah. Because usually what happens when people come together, one of them is really into it and the other one's not. Guess who has the big experiences?
right,
The one who's not.
right. Like what? It's amazing how that works. That's how I was telling you. I always, whenever I'm on the spot and I have to try to do anything, I'm like, it's not going to work out for me.
Yeah.
know, I
well,
just-
that's our yeah.
Yeah.
That's a common
But
reaction.
that's funny you say that usually it's the person who, they're the ones that have
right?
not the one who's like, come on, you got to go with me.
Because I think it has to do with desire, and you desire it so much, and then like what you said, you think, but I can't have it. I'm not going to have it, and that person's like, I don't care if I have it or not, you know,
Right.
because I don't believe it.
It goes, and it goes with like, you know, the law of attraction and the notion that you want something bad enough and you're actually keeping yourself very separate from
Yeah,
it,
yeah.
you know?
And the other thing too, it's being conscious, and so you can be there and not be able to remain conscious, and so then you don't know about the experiences that you're having.
It's almost like knowing you'd have crazy dreams and
Right.
you just don't remember them.
It's there, but it's not there. Yeah.
And some people have vivid dreams often and can remember all of them. And
Right.
it's always wild to me how we're all wired so differently,
Yes.
you know?
Yeah. And everybody, so we have an agenda. So our agenda would be the program we deliver. So you come to Gateway Voyage, there's an agenda, right? We're teaching you focus levels.
Mm-hmm.
The individual coming in has their own personal agenda.
Right.
And they're all different. You're all having different experiences. You're all doing it in different ways. Some are exciting and just like, wow, this just happened. Others are more subtle.
Mm-hmm. Do you suggest that people in general try and let go of their expectations? Or
So that's an interesting one. So if you have no expectations, what happens?
well, you're
Maybe
not
nothing.
Yeah. Yeah.
So it's good to have expectations.
Okay.
But then it's like what you said about law of attraction or manifesting.
Right.
Then let it go.
You got to be able to let it go.
And the way you can let it go, I think, maybe the easier way is to have those expectations and then say, but whatever is best for me, my highest potential, my self-evolution during this week. So you're not hanging on to it tightly.
Right.
And and be grateful for,
Whatever.
whatever it is. Because it might be that you are supposed to sleep for most of it.
Yeah.
And not be consciously aware of something that's happening.
Right.
Like, say, for example, a major emotional healing. But at the end of it, you get home and you're responding differently to the people you love.
Right.
Where you used to be triggered, now you're not. So
It's true.
and that's the part that's hard for some.
Yeah, because they're going to go home and
they
say,
wanna-
nothing happened. I
Yeah.
wasted my money. And
Right.
meanwhile,
Something happened.
yeah.
Yeah.
So if you just leave the door open,
Yep.
the universe would love to surprise you.
And my gateway was not, I had some experiences, but it wasn't fantastic compared to some of my classmates.
Right.
But I knew this was important. I knew I was shifting, and I knew
Yeah.
I had to come back.
You can feel it.
Yeah.
You can feel it. And that intuitive knowing that I got to do this again and soon.
Yeah.
You're almost compelled to it.
Yes. I was like, I got to come once a year.
Yeah. And that helps you keep your vibration and
Yeah.
frequency where you want it. And we're just talking about how this is a measurable thing, like it's no longer, good vibes and all that. It's not, it's no longer just a phrase from the hip, like counterculture movement. It's a real thing.
Yeah.
The biofield is a real thing.
Right.
And you're putting out energy all the time, whether you're aware of it or not.
Right.
And what is the energy signature you want to put out?
Right.
Because that's going to affect what comes into your reality,
Right.
and people are starting to make this correlation. And I think subconsciously they know there's a correlation.
Yep.
Like if you ask people, how many people here think that their thoughts affect what happens in their life?
Right.
Most people will say, yeah, I think
Yeah.
that's fair to say.
Yeah.
But most people don't realize that your thoughts and feelings are affecting just about everything
Right.
that comes into your
Right.
reality.
Well, just like when I was younger, I was very judgmental when I would meet people. And over time, I would make that intention. I don't want to be that. And I think with the intention, first awareness
Yeah.
that I'm judging, then the intention of I want to shift this, then you all of a sudden one day you realize I'm not doing that anymore. Now I always tell people be discerning, because that's how you don't get robbed or
Right.
those kind of things. But people then respond to you differently because they know you're not judging them.
Right. And fear of judgment
Yeah.
is I think one of the most reciprocated, sadly, one of the most reciprocated kind of interactions that people don't realize that they're having,
Right.
And when you're so self-conscious about what other people may or may not be thinking about how you look and who you are and what you do and what you're doing here,
Yep.
that is a very specific frequency that you're
Putting out there.
projecting out.
Yep.
And I'm sure people are just like they reciprocate
Right.
because they're wondering what they're thinking about
Right.
them.
Well, you can think about patterns. So like if you have someone that always feels like they're the victim
Yeah.
or always feels left out, then that's what's created for them.
Yeah.
And I believe it's based on what you're saying. I'm emitting that signal, and then the universe is helping me.
And it becomes a self-fulfilling
Yep.
prophecy.
Yep.
And you can look out in the world and see how that manifests in reality. I'm not going to get political, but I'm just always amazed to see how different belief systems, the harder they're indoctrinated into different people,
Yeah.
and then how reality begins to shape around those
Right.
intense.
And especially
beliefs.
if you have a shared, like a culture,
Yes.
or a shared community, then there's a lot more intention and focus going toward that,
Right.
and it evolves.
And
it becomes
through the co-collective, it starts to
have
reality
structure.
Yeah. I mean, I see it in a lot of places. Most of the time it's not, wow, look how amazing that is, but look how what their beliefs have brought to their, not their culture, but the place that they live, I could think of any number of examples, but I'm not going to wade into the political, geopolitical
Very good move.
nutosphere in this podcast. How
I
about that,
appreciate
everyone? Everyone's like, no, do it. No, I'm not going to do it. So what would you say that the top 3 obstacles that prevent people from accessing these different levels of consciousness are?
Fear.
Number 1.
Fear is really what
Fear.
underlines everything. And then, we've already touched on it, that you just think you can't have it. And so you set that up for yourself, that you don't have it.
Right. So it'd be like that you're not capable of it? Like that kind
could
of
be. Or I never have anything like this happen, so it's not going to happen.
Oh, I see. So the underlying thing that I'm not capable of it.
Right.
Well, yeah.
But fear is really and fear drives so many things anyway. I mean, not just these types of, not having these types of experiences.
Fear is the great constrictor.
Yeah.
Even your DNA literally shrinks when you're in fear.
Yeah. And so if you turn toward gratitude, appreciation, love, then you're more receptive.
Absolutely. And your DNA happens to blossom.
Like it.
Yeah. It's amazing how the body is programmed, in a way that responds so positively to love and to trust and to kind of an open-mindedness. And then fear, anxiety, judgment, these cause the body to constrict. They cause, it's harder to stay healthy.
And even someone that's a extreme worrier, that's your neurology changes, and you're wiring that in.
Yeah.
And then it just loops,
The default.
Yep.
That's where OCD comes from.
Yep.
Anxiety attacks,
Yep.
they become hardwired. But if you can hardwire them, the good news is
You can, right? You can shift it.
You can shift
And
it.
that's the beauty of this type of work.
Yeah, it is. It's a very powerful tool at people's disposals who deal with some of this stuff on a daily basis. So if you're listening to this and you do have problems with your thoughts running amok, you're not alone.
No, we all have it.
Yeah.
Okay, on some level, and then
absolutely.
I remember reading a book once years ago, and the author said, put a rubber band around your wrist, and every time you say something negative to yourself, pop it.
Ooh.
Now I didn't do that because I didn't think I needed to hurt myself. But one day I set aside a day and said, okay, every time I do this, I'm going to write it down or I'm take note.
Yeah.
It was happening like every 30 seconds.
Oh my God.
This was in my early 30s.
And you had no idea.
No, and it would be things like you're ugly, you're fat, you shouldn't have said that, you're stupid, those kind of things.
Yeah.
And so
you
then
don't
when I became
realize it.
aware, awareness is huge. So when you become aware, then you can change it.
Yeah.
So then I created statements, affirmations, and they're so much more powerful than people understand.
Yeah.
I would, as minute I caught was aware, I'm saying that, I would slip in the new statement.
Right. I am.
Right.
Beautiful.
And so over time now, that took a lot of time, but I don't do that to myself.
Yeah. You could recondition that negative interject right out of your mind.
Yes.
And I think we all acquire it. Most people in one way or another because of our upbringing. I think that's probably true with a few exceptions. There are some incredibly involved people out there raising their children in a way that.
Well, and most of us, I think, pick a lot of that up in if we didn't in our childhood, we do in our teen years.
Yeah.
Where we really are trying to please others and dress a certain way, act a certain way,
be accepted,
be the cool kid or whatever.
Yeah, we create all kinds of avenues and we kind of adapt ourselves in ways that are not always healthy, and then these adaptations become a response,
right?
A memorized response in the body,
a habit.
Yeah,
yeah,
not a good one,
right?
But then when you become aware, you can begin to replace it,
right,
with a healthier habit, a healthier reaction,
right? Or statement, in the head, in the mind.
And sometimes it just comes with just realizing that, okay, my heart is racing right now. But what just happened, because the ouch is not in accordance with the pinch,
right?
So maybe, just maybe, I'm not present right now. Maybe this is triggering something from my past, and my body remembers how I reacted that time. So let me give it to you again, but putting space between that, that's how you can overcome triggers and start to realize, why am I so upset right now?
Right.
I mean, like that person didn't even say anything to me. I don't even think they saw me.
Right.
But I'm ready to wage war right now.
Right. And that's self-evaluation. Recognizing ourselves, being aware.
Yeah. And taking
responsibility too.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's hard for people too.
It's hard. It's hard for all of us.
It is. It is.
I remember one time I had a boss. I was a lecturer at a university, and she came in and she was yelling at me, and I'm not used to that, but and so as I was sitting there taking it, I thought, okay, I need to listen. Yeah. Maybe she's saying something that I need to hear.
Right.
So I kept listening, and finally I was like, nope, no, she's not. But I always try to do that. I always try, when something's coming at me that is hurtful, painful, whatever, I try to listen.
Yeah. Because
maybe there's some truth that I need to hear in it.
Right. I do the same thing. I just try to be like a raft in the ocean, and just
observe,
hold on.
Yeah.
And then usually it passes, because people say things when they're in the heat of the moment that they don't always mean,
right?
And oftentimes, like when they come to their senses, they're like, "I'm sorry,
yeah, right,
I didn't mean that." And they're like, "Well, while you were saying it, I couldn't imagine you did mean it, but thank you for realizing and apologizing,
Yeah.
But yeah, that's also a skill or a habit that I've had to cultivate, to just just be like a raft in the ocean, I tell myself,
Mm-hmm.
because I'm not sure what's being said right now is really coming to me,
Right.
and from what has happened. I think
Right.
it's coming from someplace else.
Right.
But most people just react,
Right.
and they go on the attack, and then things disintegrate quick when both parties are not aware of their ability to do that. But so fear,
Fear.
essentially, and fear. What do you think? What's the I want to say weirdest thing you've seen, but I don't know if seen is the right word. What's the most incredible experience that someone has had at the Monroe Institute that they've told you about?
Yeah, so it's seen is not the right word because we all have different ways of perceiving. And for example, I'm not very visual when I'm in that projected consciousness state. I'm getting it in other ways. So like I'm clairaudient, which means more hearing. And then maybe someone is more of a kinesthetic person. So it's like I'm feeling the sensations, or I just know, would be another one. So there are different ways to perceive. The most amazing story I have ever been told, and I actually was there, was my friend Candy Sanderson, who wrote The Reluctant Healer. She now channels as a result
wow.
of going to Monroe. So
That's
she
awesome.
was not seeking that out.
Wow.
But that's not the story here. So this was in like 2011, and we were at a volunteer meeting at the Institute, and it was a long weekend, and we would do meditations during the meetings. And so the last day, she had a meditation. Now, I have to give you a little backstory. She showed up, and she had a paralyzed vocal cord on one side from a procedure that had gone wrong. 2 weeks from then, she was going to, after this program was over, she was going to have surgery to try to correct it. She had a little voice box so we could hear her talk. So last day, meditation, Buddha appears to her. Now, she was like, this is really odd because
I'm not a Buddhist.
Right, I'm not a Buddhist. I would think it'd be Jesus,
Right.
And that was what she said. And he appeared to her and he said, don't talk for 24 hours and you will be healed. So she
Took him
took
seriously.
it very seriously. She had a notebook and a pen, and she would not talk. She would answer us
Wow.
writing. She gets home, and she can tell she's able to talk better. She goes to the doctor, and he declares it a medical miracle
Wow.
because there's no explanation.
None whatsoever.
Yeah, it was not going to heal by itself, according to conventional medicine.
Right. That's amazing.
So, there's healing stories. There's stories of people who have interacted with deceased loved ones. We find that, especially parents who lose children will come
Yeah.
and do that to try to have some kind of closure. Then just, I remember one experience that a participant told me about it. I was actually the trainer, so it was in our debrief that we would do. And she saw herself walking up to the family farm. She was an orphan who'd been adopted by this family. And they had a white house with a white picket fence, like on a farm or ranch. And she saw all of her relatives. Some were deceased, some were still living. They were all there. And so she walked up, and they were all chatting and visiting each other. And then they started kind of forming this circle, and this person came out of the woods, like there was a forest nearby. Right. And as this person got closer and closer and closer, it was a male, the other members of the family started clapping and saying, "Job well done." And as he walked up, they patted him on the back. They all were saying, shaking his hand.
Yeah.
Turns out he was the uncle that had been the most abusive to the different family members.
Wow.
And he was no longer alive. But he was being told by that soul group, "Job well done. You played your role well."
Wow.
So that was a paradigm shift for me.
That's a holy shit moment.
Uh-huh.
Wow.
So things like that.
It reminds me of a parable from one of Neil Donald Walsh's books, with the little soul and the sun.
Oh yes,
when
it's
he
been
says,
so long since I read it.
He talks about these two souls being like, oh, we're gonna go down. We're gonna go down together. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, but will you be will you be the bad guy?
Yeah,
You know,
yeah.
for me.
Yeah.
I guess I'll do it for you. You know, will you remember who I am? You know, at some eventually. You know, and it's like it just makes you question. You know, the whole notion of like good and bad and
Yeah.
everything being polarized and people not realizing that there's a larger tapestry being woven,
Right.
you know, and that everybody is kind of serving their own purpose in this collective evolution.
Right.
It's a much different way to look at life. But when you hear stories like that,
Yeah.
couldn't, you know, like maybe it was easy for the man who ended up being that abuser, but for the soul who chose to take on that
Yeah.
for the family, you know, like I had an older brother who was also an identical twin.
Oh,
Crazy odds. I think it's like 1,000,000 to 1 that
two sets.
two sets of identical twins. But they were very premature. Only he survived. His brother died 14 days later, and so he was physically very handicapped from being so premature.
Oh,
And to add, as if that wasn't enough, he had inherited a rare genetic blood combination from my parents.
Oh,
So he got he got a sickle cell trait from my father in his Sicilian blood, which is recessive in my dad and harmless. And he got a thalassemia trait from my mom, which in her is paired with a recessive gene and harmless.
right.
He had a 1 in 4 shot of getting each of those.
Wow.
Me and my twin, we got normal and normal.
Right.
Christopher got the only two that could have combined
Yeah.
to give him, on top of all those other handicaps, a very rare blood disease that acts like sickle cell anemia when it is triggered.
Okay.
And in his body, it was often triggered.
Okay.
It was it was just a recipe for a lot of pain,
Yeah.
you know. But when he wasn't in pain, he was the happiest person you could meet,
Yeah.
you know. And then whenever he walked into a room, everyone smiled because everybody knew that he, you know, he had something funny to say.
Yeah.
And he just lit up the room wherever he was one of those people, you know, the moment he walked into the room, everyone just smiled because he was always smiling just to be happy, just to be healthy and be able to be with people. He was always so happy. And when he passed, we were doing, while he was in the hospital, we were doing what we could to either bring him back into his body and health or help him in his transition, you know. And I had a medicine man from Colombia, when he kind of tuned into his energy, say that he had taken on, or maybe it was something my brother told me about from a psychic he spoke to. But he said, they said your brother had taken on all these different ailments in one fell swoop to try to ease that like integrate all that stuff into one lifetime so that the rest of the soul family wouldn't have to experience it in bits and pieces. And that's why he carried that burden.
Yeah.
He did it for all his ancestors and all his living relatives. That was his contract, you know. And he lived for 49 years. They didn't think, you know, he lived to be 49. And he just died a couple of years ago. He was an incredible human being. But I was just, you know, when I heard that, I was like, wow, you know, that would make a lot of sense. How does the odds of him coming into the body that he did become astronomical?
Right. And it goes back to the Earth life system idea, and that everyone's life is designed ideally for their evolution.
Mm-hmm.
And sometimes it looks really hard.
Right.
And it is really hard.
Yeah. That's what in his eulogy I wrote about, because he also loved to gamble.
Okay.
And his luck was insane. You know, like the same crazy combination of odds that came together to put him in that body would come together when he would gamble. And I'd be like,
how do you do it?
You know, he had this way. But in his eulogy, I wrote about what a miracle he was, what a defiance of the odds.
Yeah.
his life was, and it just so happened he loved to gamble too. So I made
that
a
in
few
there.
references, yeah. But so, what is the kind of the most inexplicable experience that you've been around? I mean, I'm sure there's a lot of people who have trouble interpreting, but was there anything that was really just like that manifested itself in the physical, like any kind of paranormal? I guess you could call it paranormal.
Yeah. So this would not be Monroe. This is me and teaching energy medicine with the Dr. Brian Daly.
Oh, okay, that's the medical doctor. Yeah.
We were in Florida, Naples, Florida, and we had this lady who had self-identified as a healer take the course. And so during one of the sessions, we would invite people like friends to come in to be healed, like to be volunteers. So during one of those sessions, I hear my name called because I would just walk around and check on everybody. And so I go over and the healer, the gifted healer, she says, "Look." I look down and there's like a rope mark across this person's neck that was not there before.
Wow.
And so her interpretation of it was a past life thing, and that they were letting that go, like they were healing that. So I saw that with my own eyes, and I was like, okay, this is very interesting. And so then I walk off, and then another person's on the table, and they call me back over there, and they've put a Vogel crystal, which is a crystal that has a lot of edges to it, sides to it. I think it's like 12 or 13. And they had put it on the middle of the person's stomach, and it was doing a 360.
What?
Yeah.
Wow.
Nobody was touching it.
Wow.
So I'm like, okay, paradigm shift.
Wow. Imagine the energy vortex to cause that.
Right. So anyway, she was a very gifted healer, by the way.
Wow.
Yeah.
She wasn't kidding when she.
No, she wasn't.
I thought you were being a little bit. When
No.
you said she's
No, she-
self-identified as a healer, I was like, oh, really? Wow.
She was a very interesting character,
Yeah.
but she was definitely gifted.
I have this book over there called Man of Light. It's about this Brazilian guy who, he would come into the ability to produce light with his hands, and then he would use it to heal. But it's crazy because they would see lights around him,
Okay.
orbs, lights around him all the time, and he had trouble going places because people would get freaked out.
Yeah.
And the book was written by his wife, who was left widowed when he passed. But it's amazing how energies manifest themselves.
Yeah. And some people can see those energy fields. Like Dr. Daly, he could. He could, if he met you, he would see your energy.
Oh, wow.
Understand if you were kind or
Right
not.
away. Yeah.
Or loving. Was your heart open? Those
Right.
kind of things.
I love people like that. It saves me a lot of time trying to.
Yeah.
Like you can, like when I met Dr. Sue Morter, when I heard her speak, but then I finally caught her at the end of this conference, and I just took a knee just to introduce myself and say hello and invite her onto the podcast to tell her how much I enjoyed her, and her eyes, I could see her taking my whole being, and I didn't even look like she was listening to a word I said. She just said,
reading you.
"Your name was Faust." I said, "Yeah." She goes, "I would love to be on your program."
Okay.
And I was like, she didn't hear a word. But I think she understands where I'm coming from.
She read it.
Yeah. And I'm not.
And that's the beauty of enhancing your intuitive abilities, because you are more able to do those kind of things.
Yeah.
Whether you see it the same way or not, you still can interpret it.
Yeah. And it'll save you trouble with people.
Yes.
Keep you out of trouble with people, save you time with people.
Yep.
You get a sense of where they're coming from and what they're coming with.
Right.
Without having to
Motives. Yeah.
read their rap sheet.
Yeah. Right. Or hear what they're saying.
Yeah. Or listen in on eavesdrop on their conversation. So beyond out-of-body experiences, what other extraordinary abilities does the Monroe Institute explore? I mean, we've been talking a lot about them. Did we miss anything?
It really is about understanding the map so that you can, and there's intentional purposes, so you know which focus level is best for you to be using to do certain things. So we do remote viewing. We teach there. We also have a class called MC Squared where we're working with spoon bending and
Oh yeah,
PK
yeah. We're gonna
stuff.
talk about that. Don't think you're getting out here without talking
Random
about that.
number generators, like influencing those. We do the healing course, connecting with guides so you can get more comfortable with that
Yeah.
process and how to do it. So yeah,
All the good stuff.
yeah.
All the great stuff.
People call it Hogwarts for adults.
I love that. Oh man, Hogwarts for that. Well, I've been joking around with a friend of mine for a few years. She's like, "We need to start a Hogwarts."
Yeah,
I was like, "Yeah, I know. We need funding." But I love that. So I like being able to affect a random number generator. That's like being able to affect, let's say, a slot machine or a lottery ticket.
Yep.
And I have played with this ability for many, many years. Like you see that rack of, those are comic books.
Oh, okay.
And many, particularly the ones on the top shelf that are the most valuable, I won in raffles.
Oh, wow. Okay.
And I won them experimenting with this, with the law of attraction and knowing that I had won before I won, and I had to stop because I started to feel bad for the other rafflers, but this ability is so powerful.
Yeah.
If you can learn to tap into it, you can have a lot of fun with it, especially if you like games of chance.
Right.
Because these raffles literally used a random number generator. Yeah. And, once I figured out how to do it, I was just like having too much fun. But I won a lot of the most collectible comic books using these techniques.
Right. So one of our trainers, Joe Gallenberger, created a course called Sync Creation and then Inner Vegas. and so he used to, I don't think he does it anymore, but he used to take people to Vegas.
Wow.
And we would play craps.
Yeah.
And I went to I say we because I attended one of the programs.
I have to go to this for work.
Right. And it was amazing what I witnessed at the crap table, because rolls are, I don't remember now because this was like over 5 years ago. The average time somebody holds the dice, it's not that long.
Right.
They roll a 7, they're out.
Right.
I watched people do 30, 45-minute rolls back to back. Like the significance was off the charts.
Wow.
And they would never hit a 7. And what we did as a group, we sent 7 to get pizza, or we sent 7 to go pick up something for us.
Oh, wow.
So we wouldn't focus on bringing in 7.
Right. That's brilliant.
And so I watched that for 3 days. Like only 3 people rolled in
my God.
like hour and a half or something like that.
That's crazy. That's so cool. This is good. You probably couldn't go back anyway. The casinos caught wind of you.
No, actually, he was very open about it.
Oh,
with
he
the
was.
casinos.
He was cool
and it was off the main strip, but it was a casino that knew what we were doing.
Yeah, as long as you're not winning too much money, they don't care.
and then they, what they liked about this is what from Joe's telling, they liked it because people got attracted to the table we were on. So after we would leave, that table would be really hot for the rest of the
I see that. Yeah, that makes sense. Yeah, but they need people to win. That's what draws more people.
It's funny though, because I didn't know the game craps, so I didn't really know how to do it, and so I paid attention. And some people were very successful and did really well with making the money. I ended up breaking even to the penny.
Wow.
That I took out.
Wow.
Which I thought that was, I was
That's
impressed.
a feat. Yeah.
Like to the penny.
Wow.
I took out some money at the bank, and when I got home, I put
exact same money. Yeah.
Yeah.
You don't know how hard that is unless you've been to a casino. That is very hard to do.
I felt like I did something.
Yeah. That's like winning, essentially.
Well, right, because I didn't lose anything.
Right. I mean, the odds.
I had intended to cover my expenses, but
take what you got.
Yeah.
Take the small victory. The house is against you. In those house games, that craps included, the odds are stacked very much against you. So when you come back even, that's a win. So spoon bending.
Yes.
People think that it's a magician's trick.
Yes.
They think that it's a myth. Now, I have looked at the what do you call it? They did spectrometers of the spoons that Uri Geller
Yes.
bent,
And they were not.
and they were able to say that somehow, without using heat, he forced those molecules to separate, which caused the spoon to bend. But then you have people saying that because apparently, I guess if you can do it like a magician does it physically, but I was always like, the fact that they did these tests on Uri's spoon, and you could see that the molecular structure of the spoon had been expanded, and he was not with heat, with no application of physical heat, that there's something to this, right? Talk to me about the spoon bending that goes on and how you guys facilitate such a teaching.
So we do use our hands when we do it, and it's we teach several different methods. But I'll tell you what convinced me that this was real was seeing someone bend plastic.
Oh wow!
Because if you've ever tried to do that, it breaks.
You had someone who.
Well, so I knew one person who had, and it was one of our trainers who had done that, and then I started teaching spoon bending, and I started challenging the participants, and I stopped counting at 50.
Wow!
So I knew 50 people who could bend plastic.
Wow!
And I've done it myself, and I know I've even got them displayed in my office, and I try every once in a while, pick them up and try to undo it, and I can't.
No.
And another one that was fun, we had at MC Squared, we do this, and so we had a yoga teacher who was telling her husband on the way out that was coming to do yoga with our participants. She said, "Oh, I'm going to MC Squared." He goes, "Here, take this," and he gave her their fire poker. He said, "Take this and see if they can bend it." So she took it.
So it's like a real.
It's like a real heavy.
Like you would use it like a chimney. Okay.
Yes. So all week, different people were trying to bend it, especially the men. And just not successful. Not successful.
Mm-hmm.
Then Kimala, who's a student or a participant that's been coming for a while, she was like, "Okay, I'll give it a try."
Wow.
She gave it to me. It's in my office.
Wow.
So when you come, you'll have to see my spoons and my
I will
fire poker.
Take a picture of it. That's amazing. And do you find? Well, I always feel like I feel like children have more success than adults, but some adults are. So is every spoon? Do you guys give the spoons? And every spoon is the same, right? Like
no. So you can do different weights. So if you do a lightweight, that would be one you can bend. Like you and I are sitting here, we have it. We could bend it.
Right.
So then it's about how much you bend. So you get the tines going and little curly cues.
Right.
And then the medium weight, that's the one I prefer. That would be the one you probably have at your dinner table.
Right.
You can try to bend it. And you can't.
Right.
You can physically try to bend it. And I remember I was training spoon bending with Luigi Chambriella, who's somebody I train with a good bit. And he and his wife were doing it. Well, his wife was doing it. He was training it with me. So they had the same cutlery. Right. So he's over there, and all of a sudden his wife, she's like just going to town, like it's bending and all that.
Right.
But before she did that, he said, "I think we got cutlery that's too hard." Mm-hmm. And then all of a sudden she starts bending it.
Yeah. Sometimes it looks like it's like melting.
Right. So he was like, "Okay, now you're making me look like a weakling." But then by the end of it, he also was successful.
Right.
Doing it.
And for those of you listening, we're talking about, people hold the spoon.
Yeah.
But they're not physically using their hands to try.
No, you are.
You are. You're trying to.
You think about it. If you're doing the loops, you have to be moving it.
Right. But if the lightweight spoon is already malleable, then we're like.
So you're just creating tighter loops, and and I can send pictures.
Oh, I see. Because even the lightweight spoon, you're not going to be able to wrap around your finger.
Right.
because the metal would break.
Right. And if you can, while you're just sitting there, then go get a heavier spoon.
Right.
And the way to really tell if you're doing it is to bend the bowl of a spoon.
But
That's really hard.
Oh, the bowl.
Yeah.
Okay.
And the curls are hard in the bowl of a spoon.
So is it about, so it's about applying pressure, but it's also about like tuning it. That's the first time I've heard a whistle like that here in a while.
Is it a vacuum?
No, it's a fire. It's like a fire station, I think.
Oh.
Yeah. I think. I don't know. I don't think the mics are picking it up anyway, but I don't smell any smoke, so we should be fine. So, because you could see Yuri in the videos, and he's like, I hold it like this. Like
Right.
this,
So so his method's a little different, and we do have we do say twist it, turn it, but you're not using power.
Right. I see.
Yeah.
So you are exerting force because.
Well, you have to direct it.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. You're not just because anybody can bend a spoon and then eventually.
Not necessarily. So that's why I'm saying and you could try all kinds. So you could get the heaviest weight, and see if you can bend it.
Yeah.
By force. And if you can't, then that's a good one for you to do.
Right.
The medium, same way. Usually you can't. Just trying to do it.
Right.
Now, somebody that's really got a lot of muscle, maybe they could, so they need to do heavier. But if you end up with a light weight, then just don't think, oh, well, this is not going to work. You just do a lot of
Right,
loops
just
and
make it do something
curls.
that it wouldn't normally do unless it was under high heat.
Right.
Right. Essentially, because you can. I mean, I guess what you would expect if it was just brute force is for that spoon to snap.
Right.
To break to a point or bend to a point, and then eventually there's no reason why it would continue to bend because.
Well, and
So that's where it becomes something that is more akin to your.
and then try unbending it.
And then try bending it. Yeah.
Like once you really know that you're out of the state or out of the the spoon or fork has stopped cooperating.
Because it won't unbend if right? Because if it's not just going to unbend if you're no longer in the state, because you're no longer working with the.
Right. So that's, again, why I say test it before you get into that space that you're intending to bend it and see if you can.
Right.
That's your neutral.
Right.
Yeah.
I love that.
And so then I'm assuming afterwards, and it's all there, it's all bent, you pick it up, you're not in that state, you try to undo it.
You see some of those spoons that have those, and you're just like,
yeah.
How do they do that? Has anyone ever? Have you ever witnessed any telekinesis or people able to exert psychic force in that way at the institute?
It's not something that. So if it's not in our program, that would be something that would happen like during a long break or something. So we're not actively doing that.
I've heard.
I'm sure there are people.
Yeah, I'm sure. I mean, I've read about people, and I
know we've done experiments before where we have people influence equipment with their energy field, with it directional, and we have had good results. Certain people can do it.
Yeah,
change the dial, change the setting or whatever. By
make the
intention.
temperature fluctuate and things like that. Make a slot machine hit 777. There's so much there. But I'm definitely going to visit. Now I see why my brother has been there twice, But do you guys ever get like calls and I mean I know Joe worked for a long time kind of privately, which I think is amazing, to make a living doing that, even if it is completely, off the public record. Do you guys ever get calls from like law enforcement or like to see if one of your regulars or trainers will look for something or someone?
No. We don't.
Yeah.
Now we have gotten messages that people want to get in touch with Joe.
Yeah.
To do that. Joe's retired.
Yeah.
And so we just say we're not allowed to share that information with you.
Joe's sick of getting. I'm sure he's had enough.
And Joe actually, over his lifetime, he has helped find some missing people and,
Oh, yeah,
and,
yeah.
and children. But he also was accused of doing things like knowing too much information.
Oh, really?
So after a few times, he stopped. He said the only way he would help is if law enforcement contacted him. He wouldn't do it for a family.
Yeah.
And if they asked him, he'd say, you have to get the sheriff or whomever
I don't blame them. Yeah.
to come to me and ask me to work with them.
Smart. I don't blame him. People will blame everyone and everything.
Yeah, he was detained
He
more
was.
than once. Yeah.
Oh my God. That's terrible. They detained him because they thought, oh, he had to have known. He had to have been in on this.
He had too much information.
So, one of my finale questions here.
Okay.
What's going to happen when the Monroe Institute, in your opinion, achieves its goal of reaching 1% of the world's population?
So I believe it changes the world. And we're not the only organization that's got that 1% goal to help people with transformation. And we're just one way. But I believe the more that people have these experiences, they start trusting that everything's okay more. They are starting to live from a space of love and forgiveness. And
Empathy.
tolerance, that it changes the world. It changes how we do things.
Yeah. I'm with you 110%, or 1%, if you will. But this has been such a fascinating conversation for me. And I know a lot about this stuff, so I hope our listeners were along for the ride. Allyn, tell everyone where to, obviously the Institute has its own website, but if they're interested in coming and checking it out, or if they're interested in maybe doing a virtual class, tell everyone where to find you and the Institute, and where they can seek more of this knowledge.
Okay. So monroeinstitute.org is the website. And then we've got an app that is free, but you can also have the subscription.
Oh, cool.
And the app is called the Expand app. So Google Play or the Apple Store, you can download Expand. And
I'm going to download
it has
right
it has over 100 meditations.
Oh, nice.
And then we also have, if you subscribe, we have a timer feature so that you can just pick the frequency recipe that you want to experience and the background.
Oh, awesome.
No narration on that one. And then we also have communities within that. So you can find, there might be a remote viewing, or there might be an out of body, or there might just be Monroe in general, or people can create their own private groups.
Wow.
So
That's awesome.
and then we are about to be loading our first online course onto the app.
Oh, wow.
And so you'll be able to experience, I think it's Focus 10 without paying for anything, just to try it out, the course
Good
itself.
idea, yeah.
I'm one of the trainers, and Luigi
Nice.
Chambriella is the other trainer.
Amazing.
So, yeah.
And are you on, you probably wise enough not to get on too many social media platforms. Do you have a social media presence? I mean,
Yes.
I know the Institute does.
Monroe does. I personally am on LinkedIn and Instagram and Facebook.
Okay.
Monroe is same, and we do have a TikTok presence, but we tend to be using the other channels more, the other platforms.
And YouTube?
YouTube, yes, we're big on YouTube. That brings a lot of our first time experiencers.
Well, we will collaborate on all the platforms that we share when we put this podcast out. And I am so grateful for your time.
Oh, thank you.
And
it's been a pleasure.
Yes.
Fun stuff to talk about.
I feel like there's so much stuff going on in the world, but this is how can you choose to talk about that when you have this?
Yeah.
This is so much more to this, and this is the next step. But for everyone who is listening on Spotify and iTunes, if you enjoyed this podcast, please send it to a friend and drop us 5 stars if you liked it that much. Maybe leave a comment or a review. Those go a long way. And YouTube and Rumble and if you guys make sure you're subscribed. Check out our Patreon page if you'd like to support my work. We're building a community there. I have a bunch of customized merch I'm waiting to give out to some of my upper tier members that has some cool stuff with my logo. And thank you guys for hanging out with us. And Allyn, thank you so much for coming.
Thank you.
It's a pleasure. We're gonna have to try to wrestle Joe into coming. He can bring his whole family if he wants. Thanks, guys. Take care.
Thanks.